Hello and welcome to the Island Lamb. I'm Diane and this is episode 53. And this is primarily a podcast about knitting, or at least that's how it started out. And over time it has evolved where I share more and more of my life living on a small island, Block Island, off the southern coast of Rhode Island, which is on the eastern seaboard of the United States and in the Northern Hemisphere. And it is July 20th today. And it's been a while since I've been with you, and there's a number of reasons. One, life, right? We all have lives, and we all have the ups and downs of life. And we had a little bit of that, ups and downs. We have had a death in our family, and we're all saddened by that. And we have had some, I got bit by a tick. I seem to be fine, but if you know anything about Lyme's disease, it's something you really want to monitor. So I did take something. I took an antibiotic to hopefully prevent any of the long-term symptoms, and I seem to be just fine. But when you take that particular type of antibiotic, you can't be out in the sun. So, this all happened in June, got bit by the tick, went on the antibiotic, stayed out of the sun, lost a beloved uncle, and also had a tear in my retina, which is crazy, right? And it's nothing you can really prevent. It's nothing I did. I mean, most tears or detached retinas come from some type of impact or injury. So boxers are prone to that. A car accident, a fall, an object coming into your eye. I had none of that. So it's rare. However, Dave has had a detached retina. He actually had the same retina detached twice. So he was very familiar. And I was very lucky that I went into the emergency room. I got great care. I was sent the next day right to an ophthalmologist, right to a retina specialist, had emergency eye surgery, and I'm doing fine. But because of that, I had to keep my head in a certain position for 10 days, night and day. And it's really just been maybe a week, not even a week, since I'm able to pretty much have a normal life right now, and I will have a total recovery, but I have to go back one more time to my retina specialist to get the okie dokie. So, don't take anything for granted. Don't take your loved ones for granted. Don't take your sight, your hearing, your ability to smell and taste, and enjoy every minute of the day. Enjoy every minute of your life, whether it's good or bad, because whether it's good or bad is all in here. And I practice mindfulness, and in one of our readings this morning, the 3 P's came up, and I hadn't really heard of these 3 P's. I mean, I knew my P's like in business school, product, pricing, promotion, etc. But this was patience, practice, perseverance. And I do try to practice patience, and I do try to practice perseverance, and therefore I'm practicing. And so anyway, it's good to be back with you, and it's just good to see you. Okay, so what's going on? Well, I started this episode with some still shots and some video of the garden. I am so pleased. As you know, I had never really done much in the way of vegetable gardening. I had herbs, I had tomatoes, I did a little flower gardening, but this was a bit of a commitment to a much bigger, for us, for 2 people, vegetable garden. And it's been a wonderful experience, and I have to say, going out every morning, first thing in the morning, to see, how is everybody doing? Do we have a new bud? Do we have a pea? Do we have a bean? A cucumber? Are the pollinators showing up as I had hoped? And all those things happened. So I'm grateful for the soil, which I talked about in a previous episode. I'm grateful for those 2x8 foot and my 2x4 foot raised beds to be able to have them on the back deck, not worry about deer. I've had no problem with the deer trying to get up on the deck so far, and fingers crossed we haven't seen that tomato bug. And I learned something though about tomatoes. I had bought this bag, and I'm going to show you a photo of it, and I had bought this little bag to help give my tomatoes a good start, and planted the tomatoes and totally forgot about it. And I had been watching the Roma tomatoes growing, and one was starting to turn pink, and I went out to take a look at it. And when I lifted it up, it had a black rotted bottom. And then I checked some of the others, and there were several that had a black rotted bottom. So I went right online to see what was going on. Well, had I used the tomato food, which has magnesium and all kinds of goodies in it, calcium, I wouldn't have had that problem because it prevents that problem. And it wasn't too late. So I picked off the ones that had the, you know, the problem, tossed them, but I had lots of newbies coming up, and I put this, sprinkled it around, watered it, and I have to do that every 2 weeks, and it stopped the problem. So that's why I'm keeping a gardening journal, so I can learn as I go, remember this for next year, and share it with you if you're interested in these things. I discovered that green peas, now these are shell peas, not like the Chinese peas that we eat with the pod. These are the peas you open and then take the peas out. Unless you stagger the plantings, you're gonna really have 1 or 2 harvests. So we had our 1 or 2 harvests, we ate all our peas, and that was it. So I've pulled them up. And I have to make a decision, is it really worth it? I'm not a big pea eater, my husband likes peas. I find frozen peas usually do the trick if I'm making a stew or a soup. So I may not put peas in, but it was really fun to watch them grow up the trellis. Green beans, I just harvested my last of the green beans. It's a similar situation. So I don't know, you know. What I'm sure of that I would do again will be the cucumbers. I've already had one. It was crisp. I bought the kind of cucumbers that you would do make pickles out of, not the long ones. I wanted kind of a really crispy, crunchy. In the event I wanted to pickle them or just eat them, you know, straight off the vine. And they're growing like crazy. They had this beautiful yellow flower. The pollinators came because I put the alyssum and the sturgeon, so I didn't have to, you know, help them along with their pollination with a little paintbrush. They did it on their own. Cherry tomatoes are looking great. So overall, I'm very pleased, and I'm learning a few things. What I think I'd like to do next year is keep one of those boxes and just have a cutting garden. Because the thing I've enjoyed almost every day is cutting cosmos and bringing them into the house. And so I would like to have zinnias, cosmos, more of a cutting type flower. So that is something I've made a note of. Okay, let's get to the knitting. I don't have a knitted item on today. It's very warm. I mean, it's not as hot as it is in a lot of the country, so I'm not complaining, but it's warm. And I'm upstairs in in my studio, which is also my bedroom, our bedroom. And I have the ceiling fans going, and I have the windows, and it's okay. It's just not comfortable enough to be in anything too heavy. And we don't have air conditioning in our home, and I don't really plan on putting it in. You know, you never know. But we're up on a hill. We usually have gorgeous breezes. We may have a handful of days that are uncomfortable, but because our house is built on a hill, our very bottom floor, the whole back of it is underground, and that is our den. That's where the TV is, and we have a guest room down there and a bathroom. It's very cool. So, you know, if it gets a little much and we want to come inside, we can always go down there. I've knit down there. My husband's watching golf in the afternoons on the weekends down there, so it's just fine. However, I do have something knitted on. I showed this to you maybe 2 or 3 winters ago. It was a project I brought with me when I went to St. Thomas, and I loved making it, and it's a gorgeous lacy cotton skirt. And I'm going to show you some photos, but I'm going to stand up so you can see close up. You see all these beautiful little patterns. I did the drawstring. I wanted to bring your attention to this sweet little cotton slip that I finally found. It's a full-length slip, which allows me to wear this skirt. I'm going to pull it up a little bit so you can see the edging. To wear this skirt like I am today. And without it, I can also wear it as a cover-up. And that's another reason why I like the drawstring, because when I wear it with my bathing suit, it feels like I need a little bit more room. When I wear it with this very light slip, I can tighten it up a little bit. And a light cotton top with this, and I've got my little flip-flops on, and I'm very cool and comfortable, and I still have a knitted item on. So I'm going to include the details of this skirt, and I'm showing you some photos. And I want to apologize because last video I kept saying, oh, and this will be in the show notes, and this will be in the show notes. Well, I must not have saved the show notes because they weren't there. A couple of you were interested in the names of some of the sweaters and that I talked about, and I will make sure my show notes go through, and I will backtrack and give you some of the details on some of those items from the last episode. Okay, so let's get to what I'm knitting now. I thought I had a moment of fear because I didn't think I was recording, and I am recording. Whew. For any of you who do these, it doesn't just happen like that, you know. You just hope that you can get through it with minimal editing, and I'm glad that we're running and I don't have to redo it. So this is the end to end. This is a Pearl Soho pattern, and I'm using not all, because I have so much of it, but I'm using leftover linen quill. I showed this to you in the last episode, and I had half of it. I had half of it completed. This is just the front. You start at the sleeve. It's all in garter stitch, and you're working from sleeve to sleeve. I think the most important thing that you want to get a handle on if you decide to make this is your gauge, and I mean your row gauge, because you're working in this direction. So, you know, most of the time we can just concentrate on our stitch gauge. If our row gauge is off, and I know a lot of people, including myself, I very seldom get row gauge. We don't worry about it because we can always add more length. We can make the rib longer. We can add another pattern. You're not going to be able to do this because you're knitting sideways and you're starting at the sleeve. You're going to cast on once for the length of this garment. And you want to know what that's going to be, because not only that, you're only going to get this opportunity. You know, you're only going to come across this once. So you want to know what your row gauge is, because that's giving you your width, the number of stitches you're going to cast on for your length. So it's just something to think about if you're going to make this. I love it. I said it last time, and I mean it. It is, you see the drape, that's linen quill. And just a reminder, I'm going to put my glasses on now. Linen quill is a combination of 3 fibers. It is, where are we? We've got alpaca, we have linen, and we have, oh yes, we have 35% alpaca, 50% wool, and 15% linen. And so it's not super lightweight. It's fingering weight, so you see it's got a nice drape. And I wouldn't wear it probably on a day like today if it were humid, because it's animal fibers, and I think animal fibers absorb humidity, and I probably wouldn't wear it on a day like today. However, tonight, if it drops down into the 70s and if the humidity lifts, I would wear this out to dinner. I will definitely be wearing this in probably the end of August, September, October. I would wear it in May and June. I just wouldn't wear it on a hot day. And that's why I'm not wearing a top today. Even in cotton, the weight of it sometimes is a bit much. However, this pattern, the pattern was designed to change the color every 2 rows. And I'm showing you some photos of that. And that's delightful, and I think it looks very pretty, but I didn't want to have to change the color every 2 rows. I didn't want to have to weave in those ends. Even though I know a really nice technique that I'm going to refer to that I learned on Fruity Knitting on how to carry the float. And because it's garter stitch, carrying the float, you don't see it at all. I carried the float all the way up every time I changed, and you just don't see it, and you trim them off afterwards. So beautiful, right? I think this would be lovely in pastels, a neutral color. I'm showing you a photo of it in just one color. It can be short sleeve, it can be long sleeve. And the back of it, if you're making this particular one, and I'm in the middle of a row, which is not a good thing, but I'm making the entire back in the raspberry. And as you can see, I've already got one sleeve on, and I'm coming across, and pretty soon I'll start making the decreases to work down the shoulder, and then I'll decrease for the body, and then I'll be putting this together and I'll be wearing it. So this was a really fun pattern, great use of your leftover linen quill. One of the sweaters, well actually I wore it in the last episode that I neglected to get my show notes up, so I'm going to bring it up again, was the Tuda Rose. And this is it. This is what I had on last episode. Several of you were interested in this. This is also linen quill. I wear it often. Again, I might not wear it today, but I had it on this week, and I had it on with shorts, kind of a, you know, an 8-inch nice long Bermuda short, and it really looked sweet. They were kind of like a light gray, a gray blue, and I was very comfortable in it. And I don't, right now you're seeing the little slip through it, but I have a nude, almost a brown colored bra that I wear with this, and it doesn't distract from these beautiful little eyelets. Boat neck, I love a boat neck. This was intended to be long sleeve, and I just decided to do a little cap sleeve. I picked up and I just put on maybe an inch, maybe 2 inches of stocking knit, and then I put on my rib. This is a twisted rib. This is a gorgeous pattern. I will have all the information for you. And I think I might even be able to show you a picture of me wearing it, because I think I wore it last summer when my girlfriend came to visit, and I think I wore it with white shorts. So shorts, slacks, skirt. I've worn it with a white skirt. Very easy to wear. And I think I mentioned I would like to make this again in the long sleeve version, maybe in a different yarn to wear in the winter. Okay. I am still thinking about using up my stash, especially all this linen quill. And I also have quite a bit of sport weight yarn left, Cascade sport weight, when I made the artist shawl and when I made my Phosphine sweater. That was all Cascade 220 sport weight yarn. I have quite a bit of it left. And because it's been so humid and sticky, I did not want a big project on my lap. I haven't even been really working on the Pearl Soho too much, because it's a good size and it's on my lap and it feels sweaty in my hand. So I've been working on a sweet little project, thinking about Christmas, because if you're going to make a little something, and I want to make a few of them, you gotta think about that in advance. So a couple of years ago, I made these sweet little Santa ornaments. I'll include that. And I had a lot of fun doing that. And I was able to make them just randomly, when I didn't want a big project on my lap, or if I, was trying to use up a little yarn, and that was all wool. So I started thinking about all this Cascade 220 sport weight I have left over. Now this pattern calls for DK, but it's an ornament. It doesn't matter, really. So this is a Christmas angel, and I'm showing you a photo of the magazine that I found the pattern in. It's the British issue of The Knitter. It was a special edition. Mom and I picked this up at Barnes & Noble, which is one of our favorite places to go and just sit and have a coffee and kind of go through knitting books and knitting magazines. And I saw this sweet little angel, and I said, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick up that magazine and I'm going to make this. I didn't know at the time I was going to make it with the Cascade 220 sport weight, because I hadn't really read through all the requirements. I just knew I got stuff in my stash. So here it is. Is she not so sweet? Look at how sweet. Her little feet, her legs, her little hands, her little wings. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about it. First of all, we've named her Compass Rose. And when I end this episode, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the Compass Rose. It's been very significant suddenly in our lives. So we named her the Compass Rose. And you start with the legs flat, and you're going to work your way up, and you're eventually going to connect across the legs flat, work the body all the way up to the neck flat, increase stitches. You're going to be increasing and decreasing along the way. Then you're going to rapidly increase for the head, and then decrease, and then pull the yarn through. You're going to seam up the back of the legs. You're going to seam up half of the body, stuff it. I have an old pillow that I've used for everything. I used it for those Santas. I used it for this. Just lightly stuff it. You're going to make this little dress. This little petticoat is just a little couple of rows. You're going to seam that up the back, put it on her. You're going to make these tiny little hands and the sleeves. You're going to connect the sleeves to the hands and then the sleeves to the body. Now the wings, I have to tell you about these wings because many years ago I knit a lace wedding shawl for a dear friend's daughter who was getting married, and I'm going to show you a photo of that. And I bought the lace weight cashmere, maybe it wasn't cashmere. I truly don't remember what the yarn was. On cones. I think Northlake Fiber put it all on one cone for me because the lace weight, the lace shawl was so fine. I did not want ends popping through. So the gentleman who owned Northlake Fibers put the entire 1,000, 1,100, 1,200, I don't remember how many yards on one cone for me, so I would never have to tie or weave. So I had this much left. Not that much, but when I read that it needed to be a lace weight to make the wings, I knew immediately that the little wedding shawl yarn would continue on. And then you just sew that on. I did French knots. It called for beads. I have beads, but I was like, why couldn't I just do a French knot? And also called for some beads for the little halo. And again, I just used some embroidery floss. And then I just put a little. So I've got a second one started. These colors, except for the pink, all these colors should look familiar because they were in my Phosphine and they were in my artist shawl. Good use of these leftover yarns. I've got to make the sleeves and then her wings and then put her hair on. Oh, and the hair, I used just some brown fingering weight wool that I had. And then I just braided the ends to give her little braids and used the embroidery floss to tie her braids off with. So that's what I've been doing. I had to be like this for 10 days after my eye surgery, so I couldn't knit, I couldn't read, I couldn't do anything. And when I could finally get into it again, I just started playing with these little angels and gardened a little bit and just trying to get back into the groove. What am I thinking about? Well, I have a lot of projects on the needles. I have my book club cardi, wool, I'm not gonna touch that yet. I have that coat, wool, not gonna touch that yet. I have some Shetland wool to make a beautiful sweater. When I went to Gundred Johnson's, the class I took in Barrington, I bought enough yarn to make one of those sweaters. I'm not gonna do it yet. I'm thinking about maybe a couple of pairs of socks. I wanna finish my end-to-end. And that's kind of where I'm at with knitting. I have lots of yarn in sweater quantity. I have linen quill and oatmeal to make a V-neck maybe, and black to make a V-neck. I have enough yarn to make the Icelandic pattern that I showed you a few episodes ago. So July and most of August, I will do a little bit of knitting, beach knitting. I love to knit on socks at the beach, but I'm going to concentrate on the gardening, and I have been cooking. And the last two episodes, I mentioned to you that I've had elevating my Italian cooking. I went to see Marcella, the documentary, the cook from Italy. I bought her cookbook. I mentioned to you I was researching double O flour. Now, double O flour, and I ordered it online from Amazon. I haven't used it yet, but it's from Italy, and it's exactly what I was looking for. It's going to be better on the digestion. It's a much softer flour. It is not chemically engineered seeds. I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm having more and more of an issue thinking about seeds that are sterilized and full of stuff to avoid, to avoid pests and drought. And I didn't want to use that. It's one thing if I go out and I order a pizza and that's what I'm going to get. I don't have to think about it. But when I'm going to make this, I wanted pure, good, easy to digest, healthy, safe flour. So I bought the double O. And I'm also showing you a photo right now of the pasta making machine that I bought. And a little olive can, and I bought the ravioli cutters. Okay, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole with this, but it's been on my mind for a long time. And, you can dream when you're asleep, but you can dream when you're awake. And you may be aware of the book called The Secret. My husband and I found out about The Secret many years ago. I believe that you bring into your life and you live the life that you think about. So if you think about these things and you can visualize them and you believe that it can happen, it's going to come into your life. If you spend time thinking fearful thoughts and negative thoughts and complaining thoughts, you're going to attract more of those things. So I've been attracting, elevating our, the way we eat. And you see that manifesting in the garden, and you're seeing it manifesting in my desire to make my own pasta and make my own pizza dough and make my own bread. So I haven't done it yet, but I'm really excited about it. And I will tell you that while I was like this in my chair, we have a big enough flat screen TV that I was able to watch little bits of TV. And so on YouTube, I found Recipe30. His name is Josh. He's Australian. I had never heard of him. He never came across anything I was looking at, but I think I was starting to look at Italian cooking shows. And not that he's Italian, but one of his episodes came up for pasta, making pasta. There were 6 recipes in this one segment. So some of his segments are single recipes, but some are like 6 great summer salads, 6 great chicken recipes, 6 great broccoli recipes. So my husband and I, because Dave spent a lot of time with me, I slept down in the den in my easy chair so that I could stay in the right position. And he spent a lot of time down there with me, keeping me company and keeping me comfortable. And so he watched a lot of these Recipe30 YouTube recipes with me. And there were several things we loved about the episodes. One, most of them he is not talking. It's just music in the background, which you can turn down pretty low. He's got a dog, which he gives a bone or a little snack at the end of, the segment. And it's his skills. He is not fancy schmancy. He doesn't have a lot of tools. Not the biggest, not a big Viking stove. He's just got a stove, a gas stove. He's got some nice bowls. He's got some wicked good knife skills and some nice knives, and he's always using this little metal, stainless steel, I should say, oil can to keep his olive oil in it. And I was looking for a new olive oil container. I have a ceramic one that had been chipped and the cork won't stay in, and so when you go to pour it, you have to make sure you hold. So I was on the hunt. So I ended up buying. He has a link to Amazon with a lot of his favorite tools, and so I was able to find that exact can. And after watching him making pasta, I said to Dave, this is not that difficult. He pours the flour on the counter, he cracks the egg inside, he beats the egg, and for those of you who make pasta, you probably know all about this. He brings the flour in, he kneads it, and then he runs it through the machine. And then before you know it, it's drying, and he's making ravioli, or he's making fettuccine, or whatever. So I said, I think this would be fun for us to do together. So we ordered the machine. And I also ordered the drying rack for the pasta. I have to tell you a funny story about that. So while I was waiting for all this to come in, and I was just starting I could get outside a little bit. I might have to stay like that, but I could get outside. I realized I had to start harvesting my lavender. I had kind of let it go. I left one for the bees, but I had a really good harvest. And so, I was making my bundles and tying them, and I was just about to hang them up when the Amazon order came in. In came the wooden drying rack for the pasta. And I said, oh my goodness, this is going to be perfect to hang my lavender bundles off of. And I just hung a chamomile bundle off of. So I'm showing you that. So yes, I was down, but while I was down, I kept dreaming. And I was dreaming about making pasta and making bread and cooking and picking my basil from the garden and making pesto and cultivating and harvesting my lavender. So I got through it. I got through it just fine. All right, what else did I want to tell you about? Let's see. Excuse me, I dropped my notes. Okay. We talked about, the biggest thing I wanted to tell you about. I alluded to it in the last episode. We were thinking about our yard, our property, how we could better use it. We don't have a lot of shade. What could we do? What could we have done that would help us utilize our yard more? And one of the things we talked about was putting a stone patio underneath our front deck, because that is the shadiest place around the house. And so we had that done. I'm showing you. Well, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave you with the whole process of getting these 2 patios done. We worked with a young woman who has a business out here, Opaline, and her mason, Grayson. And his company is Greystone Mason. And we had such an opportunity to be patient, to practice, and persevere. Because typically when we would have a project of this size going on, I would be very involved. I would be very involved, day to day. What are you doing now? And but I couldn't do it. And this Mason, Grayson, had a vision for us, unbeknownst to us. So here it is. Here's the universe. This is when you dream, the things you attract to yourself. I've mentioned this to you before. When we came here, we had a dream to live a more abundant, authentic life. We left our corporate jobs. We bought a small business that blossomed, you know, a delivery business that blossomed. But when we bought it, there was no Amazon. The online presence was minimal. And we bought this small business to deliver packages, the UPS and the FedEx on the island. But we came here searching for our true north. We said it. I wrote it in my journal back then. And this morning, when we read Simple Abundance, and I'm showing you this because this is real. Today's discussion in Simple Abundance, and the title is True North. And I made a note that we are finding our true north in the present moment. And I took you to the North Light one time in one of my episodes and said to you, while we were living in North Carolina, I had a waking dream that we lived in a house where we could see the North Light, and we do. So I told you that to tell you this. So Grayson was doing the mason work, laying the stone down below, and I couldn't see. This was all when, you know, I had the surgery, came home in the dark basement. I wasn't even paying attention. It was like, whatever, he knows what we wanted. I can't be involved. It's just going to happen. When I could finally look out the window, I saw what you're going to see, which is one stone in the middle of it all with a compass rose carved into it, etched into it. I was like, oh my God, that is absolutely beautiful. We didn't ask for that. It's like, wow. I just, you know, I was shocked and pleased and baffled. How did this happen? And then my husband noticed that on the equipment that this mason was using, there was a stencil on the window, or a logo on the window with a compass rose. So obviously this was his thing. Meanwhile, in the backyard, we had asked for a round patio that we could put a fire pit inside of, because that corner of the yard is very private. It's shade in the afternoon. It's got a beautiful view. And I said, you know, I had ordered the fire pit. I told him how big the fire pit was, how big our lounge chairs were, how much we wanted surface-wise, and that I wanted stone, you know, like gray stone and some flagstone and some curbing around it. And again, then I was down. And so little by little, a compass rose appeared. This is 27 plus feet across. A 41-inch fire pit. Our loungers are 8, and he gave us room behind the loungers and in between the loungers and the fire pit. And on this big circle is this beautiful compass rose. Both of these compass roses are lined up true north. Okay, it continues. A couple of months ago, I ordered the dining room set, you know, maybe 2 months ago, we ordered the dining room set. We also ordered 2 new chairs for our living room. Our chairs it was time. And I ordered this pattern, which I wasn't really sure of. It had little birds, seabirds, and little things on it. And I was like, you know, I hope this is going to work. They swivel. And I don't know. After buying the dining room, I was just sort of like, okay, we'll take those 2 chairs. When you live on Block Island, you just don't get to these furniture stores easily. This was Cardi's. Their delivery truck was going to come to the house. I just took the opportunity. We both sat in the chairs. We said, yeah, they're going to be comfortable. But they had to be ordered. So the dining room set came. And then, again, it was the day I had to go back for my eye appointment. Cardi's delivered the 2 chairs. Love the chairs. Sitting in the chairs. Enjoying the chairs. I look down, and there are compass roses in the pattern on the chair, which I didn't see when I ordered the chairs. I had no idea, okay? I'm just telling you that because whatever we're thinking, we're manifesting, and it becomes our life. And it happens to us all the time. So that is the secret. You are what you think. You invite in what you're thinking. So I think that's all I have for you today. Oh, one more update. You know, the zigzag shawl that I donated to the medical center, it did sell. The medical center raised well over $100,000 again this year. I was so happy that I was able to contribute to that. And now I'm going to leave you with some footage of the process of getting our true north. Hard hard, what's the word, in stone, our true north in stone on our property. It was so nice to be with you again. I know this was a little bit lengthy, but I had a lot to share with you and a lot to be grateful for. Bye-bye.